Sweden recently mobilized their home guard. It's the first time it's been done since 1975 during the height of the Cold War. There are a number of reasons why Sweden has done this, because their military has pretty much just been overlooked, and there's not been a lot of priority over the defensive capability of Sweden. But with a lot of saber rattling in Eastern Europe, specifically with Russia, Sweden decided to take a second look and kind of build up their defenses. One of the things about Sweden is that it's a non-NATO member. And so they're kind of out there on their own. But they do have agreements, military agreements, with a number of countries, including the U.S., in case something happens. So recently they sent out a pamphlet to every home in Sweden, and they said, prepare for war and for crisis. One of the themes was to store up water, food, and essentials. And one of the other themes was to never give up, to stand your ground, to fight for Sweden. One of the cool things I think about this, and I'm going to bring in the reason why I'm talking about this, because I think it relates to the prepping community. Because one of the things that's happened here in the U.S. is that we have lost who we are. I think they're trying to redefine who we are, and kind of opening borders and, just multiculturalism and all these things. But we're losing what the U.S. is all about. A lot of that has to do with just the global mindset of nations without borders. And I think this is really neat that Sweden has come together and said, you know what, we're going to protect not only our people and defend our people, but the second part of this is they want to protect their way of life. And the Swedish government, as far as democracy and what they stand for, that's one of the twofold effects of this exercise. Now, the Home Guard consists of about 22,000 members, and that's roughly half of the Swedish military. What the Home Guard is to do was to mobilize and to go and to protect these infrastructures, whether it's ports, which is a big part of Sweden with their massive coastlines, also their airports to keep travel coming in and out, of course government buildings, hospitals, be able to patrol streets, and to be able to set up defensive perimeters in those areas and to protect them. And this would allow the Swedish main military to be able to be on a front line defensive positions if they need to be. If we can last for 3 months, then by that time other nations can come in and give assistance. Here's the takeaway as far as the prepping community. One of the big things that we do as preppers is, yes, we stock up on the food and the water and guns and essentials, not to defend ourselves, but also to live and to eat and to continue to survive and to protect our families. But one thing that we typically don't look at is, what do we do after that? What kind of form of government do we really want to protect? Do we want to protect this constitutional republic that we have? Do we want to protect this way of life that we have? And it's one of the things I think that if we're not careful, we don't teach our children this. This is a major part of stability, is how we govern ourselves. Even if there was an SHTF situation here in the United States, how would we govern ourselves in smaller groups until things kind of came back to normal? So what kind of rules and laws would we enforce in a smaller community? A lot of times we look at prepping as kind of a lone wolf type thing, that we sit here together and we bunker in and we're ready to go and we have our food and our water. Everybody else, can just go to Hades. But guys, it takes a serious community, and that's what it's going to take to survive, and to be able to bind with your neighbors and to have common goals. And those goals should be with high moral standards and laws that actually are in conjunction with our U.S. current laws. One of the things about an SHTF situation is a lot of people just see it as chaos and anarchy. And so as you continue to do your preps, not only think about the food and the water and the medical and the guns and the ammo. It's always been said that America can't be destroyed by the enemies from without. It'll be destroyed from within. Unfortunately, I'm seeing how divisive things have gotten. In fact, recently, there were some studies done on predictions of an American Civil War. They feel like that in the next 10 to 12 years, some people feel like there's a 95% chance of a civil war here in the U.S. We're definitely being polarized from two different elements. And guys, we need to make sure that we're not only, again, just preparing ourselves, but also getting ingrained in the right thinking and what we want as Americans, and to be able to spread those ideals as we move along. One of the big things that Sweden kind of was concerned about was social media and a lot of the fake news and the propaganda that would come in an invasion type situation. Now, one thing that I thought was particularly interesting was that this call to the Home Guard was completely voluntary. They were relying on these people to preserve and to see the need and to come out and to participate. The one thing that they also said was that there would be no government assistance when it came to this. So these people had to take the initiative and to do what they did on their own dime. And it's really the same thing that we do as preppers. The thing is a lot of times, we get so myopic with just our place or just bugging out or, bunkering in. And I think that we need to kind of open up our mind a little bit more to a broader community that we may have to serve. We may be called on to serve. Now guys, probably the most important takeaway from this whole thing is training with your gear. Getting out with it, testing out whatever packs, whatever holsters, what you have, not just going to the range and shooting, but actually testing out the gear specifically and thinking about different security places that are around your house. This can be brought down to just who you are and where you are. Looking over your preps, looking over your water supply. So I think the 3-month minimum is just smart. Anything less than that, I think, would really be inadequate. And a lot of people like to go way above and beyond that, including myself. But all that stuff is great, but if you're not getting out, you're training, if you're not aware of the weaknesses for security that you have around your home or the property or even your county or your state, and just kind of having a general awareness of those things and preparing for such. And I think it should be a constant learning. And I think that if you're watching this channel, that's part of the mission of what we're trying to do. Obviously, taking courses in firearm training is huge, and it's something that I highly recommend. Also, taking self-defense classes, whether it's some kind of martial arts or knife fighting or whatever that could be offered in your area. Medical training is big, and so there's a lot of places to be able to fine-tune your preps, fine-tune your training. And I think that's one of the big takeaways that I found with this mobilization that kind of took place, is that they actually got out, they got their hands on their gear, they went to these areas. It helped them to evaluate the whole picture, and I think that is big. So guys, I think taking a lesson from the Swedish mobilization and their fears of what could happen, it just correlates with the exact same things that we're dealing with right here. To make sure that we have the supplies we need, but also to make sure that we protect our ideals and the way of life that we have here. Now guys, if you're serious about prepping and survival, check out Survival Dispatch Insider. It is a great resource for the prepper. Plus, I upload an exclusive video once a week on the Survival Dispatch Insider. I'll have the link down below in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America and Sweden. Long live the Republic.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall.